All right, very excited about this next guest. This is Raynaldo Rivera, and he's going to be talking about trade bots, which is very, very interesting. You ready for that one? Looking for some ways to presumably generate some income without having to be there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Raynaldo, where are you, sir? Going to check around, check around. I know he was here. 1 minute. Oh, there he is. All right. I think he's getting mic'd up. So while he does that, I'll tell you a little bit about him. We're going to get his slides prepared. So Raynaldo Rivera, Royal is what he goes by as the current Chief Communications Officer at HaasOnline, a company which specializes in automated cryptocurrency trading alongside helping the development of the HaasOnline trading platform. Raynaldo has also worked on securing popular platforms in the crypto space, and before his tenure into the cryptocurrency community, Royal led engineering and security teams in startups and big tech companies in both the government and private sector. You want to come up here while we're getting your slides ready? I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Sure. All right. So the first question is, nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Sounds super interesting. Is your mic on or not? Not on yet?
I have no idea.
Not quite. Oh,
yeah.
Check in the back.
Short.
He is?
I have to get this back.
5 seconds, guys.
Sorry.
Almost. All right. I'm going to just double check in the back.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Great.
Awesome.
So what's the bottom line with your product and your platform, and what's your big call to action today? What are they going to be able to do after they listen to you?
All right, awesome. So the general idea right now is I know it's titled Trade Bot Secrets. And when we start the talk, I'm going to give a little give and take. I'm going to ask you a few questions real quick, show of hands, and for the guys who are in the other room, do the same. You won't look weird, I promise. Generally, the idea is to give you an idea of what trade bots are. I know there's a lot of different kind of sentiment towards them. Some people hate them, some people like them. Obviously, if you use them, you probably like them. And if you're trying to trade, you end up chasing prices, you probably hate them. But hopefully what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to give you an understanding of what they are, how they operate, a bit of how we actually interact with the exchanges themselves, and give you a bit of information. Then, of course, have to give the spiel, got to give you a little shtick about what we do, what our software does, and how we come into play. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure most people have heard me say this. I've been pretty much giving the same talk, so once I get the general idea of what everybody's already heard, then we might shrink it down, give some more information, and kind of ask more questions and answer them that way.
All right. Well, you've got Yiddish in your vocab here. That's good. So there's your clicker, and let's educate them. Let's give another round of applause and take it away.
All right, I hope everybody's doing good, and I'm glad you're still here. I know it's a bit of a late talk. So really quick, like I said, we were going to do some quick kind of call and response, and by that I mean I'm going to ask a question, raise your hands. So how many of you guys actually use trade bots right now? I need some hands so I can get an idea. All right, awesome. How many of you guys hate them? All right, we got 1 or 2. And how many of you guys have already heard me give you the spiel with the laptop? All right, fantastic. So pretty much I'm going to be able to give this the same way I've been giving it all day. So basically the idea is we're going to be covering the trade bot secrets or bots behind the curtains. If you're on any major exchange that has a lot of liquidity and movement in the coins, then they're probably being helped through bots, market making, order book movement, etc. So let's go get started. Who am I? He's already given a pretty decent introduction, but let's go ahead and cover it again. I'm Raynaldo Rivera. I am the Chief Communications Officer at HaasOnline, and I have a background in cryptocurrency. I'm a day trader. I use our software. I'm pretty much a firm believer in it, and I have a background in network security and software engineering. So a lot of people, when they're talking to me, I sound very salesy, but I promise you, I do have a technical background. I've done software engineering, worked on mobile data security, and as well as some network security, specifically red teaming. I'm part of obviously 2 communities, HaasOnline and the Crypto Junkies community, so if you're looking for some help or some questions regarding crypto trading, you can definitely find me there. Who are we? So HaasOnline is a company that was founded by Steven de Haas and Quintus de Haas. They were brothers out of the Netherlands in 2014. So they decided they wanted to build the software from themselves, and then it started doing really well. So why not try to market it, sell it, increase their growing capital to have more to trade with? And what ended up happening is 4 years later, we now have version 3, which is what we're demoing, and we're happy to say, we're a multi-million-dollar company that operates solely in Bitcoin. Why wouldn't we operate in Bitcoin if we actually believe in it? So obviously, all Haas employees are paid through Bitcoin. The entire company asset pool is through Bitcoin. And of course, that means we trade our asset pool. with our software. So let's keep going. So what we'll cover some basics about trade bots, a little bit of some strategies, kind of an explanation on strategies, not specifically to Haas's platform, but there's a lot of trade bots out there, and I don't want to leave them out of the mix. This is a very new marketplace, but it is an interesting one. And finally, of course, I got to give you the sales talk, so we'll go ahead and cover a little bit about what our feature set is and what we bring to the market. So really quick, what is a bot? A bot is a tool. We like to say it's an extension of yourself designed to help you, the individual, trade 24/7. And what we mean by that is we're expecting for you to have some fundamental information, some fundamental knowledge, a little bit of trade know-how in order to use our bot. It's not a money printing machine. The only way our bot can help you make money is if you yourself are already capable of making money. Now that's a promise, or I should say, that's not something a lot of companies will say, especially not in our space. They don't want to tell you that you require some fundamental knowledge. Most people want a fire and forget bot. Unfortunately, we don't believe there is one. Now, we might have to cover a little bit about that because we might actually have something that with a little bit of machine learning. I'm not going to say we have AI, but we can cover that in a little bit. It's a virtual assistant. It's designed to help you mitigate your risk, help you trade based on patterns and strategies you already have and you've already created. And it's code designed to do exactly what you do. And what I mean by that is a computer will only do what you tell it to. It's not going to make instinctive decisions. It's not a human being. It can't anticipate a move in the market. It doesn't know fundamentals. It doesn't know that someone's going to make a tweet that causes Bitcoin to crash. Right? We can't anticipate that, at least not yet. So, how does it work? Now, bots work in a few ways. For Haas, we believe bots are composed of 3 core components: indicators, safeties, and insurances. And we'll cover a little bit of what those entail. But the other order factors are, how much coin are you trading? What's the current volume? What does our order book depth look like? We have to consider all of those pieces of the coin you're trading to make our decisions. So what are indicators? Well, you're already using them. If you're using TradingView or any other trading platform, you know what they are. They're your Bollinger Bands, your MACDs, your SMAs, etc. These things these indicators are things you've already used in your everyday trading with a little hint of instinct, with a little hint of fundamental knowledge. The next thing is your actual safeties. And these are things designed to mitigate your risk. Individual components that are designed to help you make sure you don't lose, I'm not trying to cuss here, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Don't lose your initial investment, your current trade pool. This will be your stop losses. Finally, you have your insurances, aspects or individual commands to make sure that you yourself stop the bot. So really quick, indicators, standard technical analysis. Safeties, your stop losses, your price dumps. Don't trade during a price pump. And then finally, your insurances. Only trade when it's sideways. Be profitable in 5 trades. If you're not, shut yourself off. Okay? Now, there's a few aspects that a lot of people are going to question here. It's like, okay, so if we rely on the prices, the ask, the bid, and the ask, all of these things are different values that the actual trade bots, ours and others, right, this is a general overview right now, use to make their decisions. And obviously based on the technical analysis and what they trigger, buy or sell triggers. Your order book, you guys are very familiar with that. Most of us stare at them, and there's different opinions on whether watching the order book actually is beneficial or not. And, exchange fees, so on and so forth. We're kind of flying through this because I want to get to more of a Q&A type of thing. How does a bot actually communicate? It's not rocket science. Actually, if any developer can build this against these exchanges, but we've kind of taken the idea, or taken the effort out of it. So a bot actually communicates via the API to the exchange. That means that in order for a bot to function, it must accept, or should I say, it must be in line with the restrictions that the exchange puts in place. A lot of people say that bots are ruining exchanges because they're doing tons of orders every second, which in fact that's false. We're actually not able to do it. We're limited by the exact specifications of each exchange. So for example, if an exchange says we can only call open orders once a minute, we can only call open orders once a minute. And if you're not familiar with what that means, that means that I cannot check if my order's been filled, partially filled, or still pending until a minute goes by per a pair. So we're not flying. We're not just going instantly and destroying the order book and doing tons of calls. Now that's not to say maybe quite a few bots might be doing that together or in tandem. That's definitely a possibility, but there are limitations in place. The next limitations, latency and rate limiting. So most exchanges, when they have their open APIs, they publish them and they tell you your rate, there is a possibility for rate limiting, which is detrimental to a trade bot. If the trade bot gets rate limited by the exchange's API, that means I can no longer check the current price. I can no longer find out if my order's been filled to place the next sell order. So this is a very important piece of the puzzle. If the exchange's API rate limits a bot, it's in trouble. Now, obviously, Haas, we've kind of figured this out. We work within the constraints and make sure that we don't hit those rate limits, but it is something important to note. It's not just pure magic. We don't get to make all these grand calls constantly. We have to abide by some rules. The other thing important to note is the exchange itself. There are exchanges that say, we don't want bots, so they don't have an API. But what you find on most of those exchanges is the order book movement and the liquidity of the market is rather poor. And that's not to say that they can't get that with normal traders, but bots add to that. They add the spread, right? You see the spread moving, or the spread gets closer. The more bots in the market, the closer the spread becomes. If you have a market without the bots and without the liquidity, then it, of course, gets larger. And, you know, most exchanges have contracts for market making. How many of you guys are familiar with what a market making contract looks like? Fantastic. So, in case anybody's wondering, no one raised their hand. So basically, a market-making contract is an agreement between an individual trader and the exchange to offer liquidity and order amounts to the order book to make the market move. Now, an individual can do this, but there's a few issues. The first issue with a market-making contract is the fact that I am making an agreement to have XYZ amount of Bitcoin within the market. So let's say 10 Bitcoin. I am agreeing that for this market-making contract, I'm going to have 10 Bitcoin in open or in buy or sell orders at any given time. The next part of the agreement would be I'm also saying I'm going to make this amount of trades in a given amount of time. I'm going to offer this much liquidity. So I apologize if I'm using that term loosely. I've been having multiple conversations with individuals. It gets really taxing. So now that we've fulfilled our side of the contract, we've had 1,000 open orders or done 1,000 orders, and we have 10 Bitcoin in the exchange will give us something back. Fantastic, right? But in order to do that, we have to make sure we're still abiding by the exchange's rules. So really quick, bot communicates to API, API communicates or allows us to communicate to the exchange, and there's rules we must follow. So we're not hitting the exchanges as hard as most might think. So let's talk about some example bot strategies. You guys have heard this. If you used any of the other bots in the market, scalping, you're probably trading a scalping strategy right now in a very small time frame. And if you're familiar with trading, I know this is going to be a bit taxing, but trust me, there's a reason we're talking about this. So scalping goes based on a percentage. I want, if the percentage drops a percent or a certain fixed amount, then I want to sell it. And you'll see here, I don't have any idea what chart this is. It might be EOS or something else, but the arrows are what's important. With scalping bots, all they're doing is looking for a price movement of a certain percentage down. Once it happens, they buy in and then sell it at a certain percentage up. Now, there's some things to remember. Because it's not an individual behind the computer, they can't make sure that the fees are being covered. So the individual must be able to understand and calculate how much the fee is going to be and how much we're going to move, right? Are we going to make profit from the scalping strategy in this trade? If we're not, then we're probably doing something wrong. Obviously, scalping works extremely well in a sideways market and extremely terrible in a trending. I hope everybody is aware of that one. Then we have market making. So we touched a little bit on the market making strategies, which is adding liquidity. Now, market making makes money on spread. A market maker bot needs there to be a very large spread. And what's a very large spread look like? 300, 400 Satoshi. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, I don't know about 300, 400 Satoshi. That's nothing. Well, for someone who's in the market-making business or who primarily trades with market-making, a 300 to 400 Satoshi spread is massive. A 600, 1,000, 3,000, we're making a lot of money. Why? Because the spread's large enough to where we can just say, I want to be a buy and I want to set the sell. So let's cover that. Well, in order for it to be a market maker trading on spread, you must have both sides of the coin in the same amount. So I must be able to buy, let's say, 500 of the coin, and I must already own 500 of the coin. And the way this works is I put a buy for 500, and then I put a sell for 500. At the top or should I say the bottom of the sell order, so let's say there's a 200 stat spread, and at the top of the buy order book. Now we're going to constantly do this, and as the market moves up, So I'm going to walk this way to show. As the market moves up, we're going to actually increase and move our prices up. So buy order, move our buy order, and sell order up. And we're making money on the way up. And as we move down, we're going to do the same thing. You're like, great, so why don't I just do that all the time? Babysitting. Bots aren't fire and forget. They never are and they never will be. That's another misconception that we kind of hit a lot. In order for a bot to be successful, the individual must babysit it. That's the way it is. Now, granted, there are some strategies that kind of avoid this issue, and specifically with like market-making strategies, they require the market to stay sideways. Very good in markets like Yo-Yo on BNB, on Binance, if you trade there. Very terrible for, should I say, trading pair like TRX, which decide to do some wild movements. So it does require picking the right place. Flash crash. Now, this one is a bit of an anomaly in the name. And this is more of a strategy on our side, but basically what it is it's a spread order type. It's a spread percentage across the entire order book for a given coin. So how does this look? Let's say we have a coin and we want to buy at every 1% down increments. Let's pretend that's 1%, the blue. Okay, bear with me. So that's 1% blue down across the entire order book. Now what's going to happen is as the market moves down, we're going to buy in 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. But the beauty of a bot that does this type of strategy is it's going to move that buy to the top. It's going to set the sell at the 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Now, this works really well in two ways. Now, for about 2 weeks, a week and a half or so, BTC traded within 8,000 and 9,000 USD fair market value. People were panicking. However, individuals who were capable, who had this bot, whether it be with our software, their own, whatever the case was, they were making tremendous amounts just through this $8,000 to $9,000 wave because at a base price of 8,500 with a 0.5% spread or 0.1% spread, this happened consistently for a week and a half. It was a money-making opportunity. Now, that's not to say that this strategy doesn't have any faults. If the market was to dump on you, you're holding bags if you bought. If the market was to run up without you, you're not holding anything. Now you're losing money. So how do we actually make sure that we're in a situation where something like this happens? And I'm going to say it real quick. Following the trend is something HaasOnline does with this strategy. We have the ability to follow the market moving up and down. Doesn't mean it's fire and forget. If it runs too fast, we'll lose it. But if it's moving just enough, as most coins do, we can keep up with it. So where do we come in? Those are a few strategies. There's tons more. I kind of picked the more noticeable ones and kind of the more interesting ones to talk about. So where do we come in? Obviously, HaasOnline is a full trade platform. We have the ability to see dashboards, your market view, your order books, a full range for you to trade on the multiple exchanges we support, which is about 13 to 15 if you count leverage markets as separate. Okay? And of course, that includes your Bittrex, Binance, GDAX, et cetera. We have fully customizable bots with those three components, indicators, safeties, insurances, which we discussed. So you yourself design a bot that trades exactly how you trade 24/7. Sounds great, but it does require technical understanding of the indicators you use. It's not as simply, I'm going to add the Bollinger Band and press go. It's, I'm going to add the Bollinger Band, configure the values I know I need that I trade manually, and then make sure it works. So, yet again, it's not fire and forget. It's not a push, make money. It's a push start if you yourself know how to make money. And I know that seems very odd for somebody who's trying to sell you a piece of software that does automated trading to tell you if you are not already a good trader, your trade bot, HTS, will in fact help you lose money. So something important to keep note. So let's talk about pre-built bots. Now, obviously, like any other trade platform, we do have some pre-built bots in place, which means we have strategies that we have created. Obviously, we have the standards, the scalper, the ping pong bots that everybody else has. But then we have our flash crash, which is a strategy that we created that other bots have replicated. It's not complicated. It's a spread order. Anybody can do that. But then we have bots like Alice. Remember when we mentioned that I don't have AI? Well, what we have is Alice. Alice was built with machine learning, and all that means is we put a bunch of data, about 3 years worth of BTC data, some indicators, slapped them together, did some learning, put a little math in, it gave us data, and we put it in a bot. Saw how it traded. And what we found was is Alice actually really likes large pairs. Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, BTC. It hates small pairs that trade for a little bit of Satoshi, and we are not sure why. It's a black box. It was built with machine learning, but what we know is she is profitable. So let's go ahead, keep going, if I can get this to register. So support exchanges. Now we support a lot of exchanges: Bitstamp, SexIO, GDAX, Bittrex, Binance, most of the big ones, and if we don't support it, we will. If you want it, you let us know, we'll look at it. If their API is capable of making sure we don't hit rate limits with batch orders and making sure that, we don't get you banned, that'd be a terrible thing, we'll help. Video was supposed to keep playing, I apologize, but I like Binance, so it's okay. The next thing is, what happens if we want to support exchange and we can't? We generally keep a good relationship with most of the exchanges we support. We're in contact with them. If we start hitting rate limits, we can discuss it with them. Hey, what's going on? How can we do it better? Anything you can do for us? So let's go really quick. So obviously, like I said, trading platform. We have custom dashboards. Dashboards designed to allow you to see the market the way you want to. Have alarms, times, clocks, whatever you want. Open orders, current orders from other markets. Our market view, just another example of how you can trade. And obviously, this is all from one central platform, so you don't need to have all your platforms open, bunch of tabs clogging up your machine, and then Chrome crashes, and now you don't know where you are. But you can do it from our software. Everything works. Next thing, fully customizable trade bots. Like we said, build something that trades the way you do using our components, indicators, safeties, insurances. And if we don't have something that fits your place, ask us. We'll build it. Or you yourself are allowed to build it. We have scripting available, C# and HaasScript, which is just a fancy way of saying we have Lua with some libraries built into Haas. Bot Analyzer. This is one of the coolest features we have, and we just added. Basically, one of the main problems with bots is you can't really see where they're trading. Where did it make the trade? Why is it failing? The only way I know that data is if I go to a chart and map out the buys and sells and figure out, or you open up Haas's Bot Analyzer and you can see the trades and where they executed. This helps you do one really cool thing. My bot really sucks on a downtrend. How can I fix it? I can modify parameters, run another back test, and go ahead and take a look. So that's pretty neat. MadHatter. Now, MadHatter is one of the coolest additions to our software, at least I think so, mostly because it's a strategy I came up with that's a little bit loosely based on the simple strategy, if you're familiar with it, but with some additions. We're going to try to talk about this real quick. MadHatter was designed out of the need to teach individuals how to day trade quickly. And I know what you're saying, day trade quickly, oh dear, people are about to lose some money. But what we know is on a 5-minute time scale, that actually is doable. You can teach somebody who's only been in the market for 5 days, who understands how to use an exchange, how to actually be profitable on a 5-minute scale, assuming Bittrex doesn't go down to or BTC doesn't crash to 6K on them. So what did we do? We took that idea and we put it into a bot. And we called it MadHatter because we're a fan. I can't legally say where the name comes from, but as you can imagine, it's pretty simple, straightforward. But MadHatter was a bit crazy, a bit of voices in its head. So it's based off some very simple principles: the Bollinger Band, the RSI, and MACD. But here's the trick. They're not your standard indicators. You can't just go and pull these in, and there's a reason. Humans do not trade on the bottom of the Bollinger Band. They don't wait for it to touch the bottom, then put my order in, and then risk getting the buy-in missed. In fact, we anticipate the change of the Bollinger Band. We put our order in before that actually touches. Why can't a bot do that? Well, it can. So we put a little bit of math in, a little bit of Haas magic, which just means some more math, and we came up with a way for our bot to anticipate the movement or the change in direction for the Bollinger Band. It works pretty well. But that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to make it profitable. A human still does much better trading MadHatter than a bot can. So how can we actually improve it? Well, humans would usually put into account the history of the market, or should I say the history of the price within the Bollinger Band. So we started adding the history about a couple minutes back, or in this case, the last trade our bot did, and then we started getting some interesting results. After that, we're like, well, why don't we do the same for RSI and MACD? And in fact, it worked. So now we have this bot that trades on MACD, RSI, and Bollinger Band, but there's still a little bit missing. MadHatter was crazy. We need to add a little bit more. We can't catch some really weird movements in certain coins like LTC and, dare I say it, TRX. How do we catch that? Well, we found that sometimes one indicator just lags behind. By default, indicators lag, but just a bit more, so we were missing movements. So what we added was this consensus idea. And what the consensus basically means is, if two of these indicators agree on a decision, go for it. And what we found was that was adding some very interesting emergent behavior, and it can help us catch some of those weird issues. Now, it's important to note, because MadHatter does what it does, a badly tuned MadHatter will lose you a lot of money. But a finely tuned, which means making sure the Bollinger Bands are in place, following the correct market, making sure your MACD is not crossing at the right point, but converging at the right point. Your RSI, I usually just set it to 2 to be honest, But your RSI's buy and sell are within the correct amount. If you tune the MadHatter and it's down trading just slightly or sideways, it is possible to follow it. Even if it takes a short loss, it will definitely make the money back. So much so that it does take time. You put the effort into the bot will perform for you. You decide to be lazy and not put the settings and the time and don't understand what's going on, well, like I said earlier, you might be losing some money. Trade on trend lines, really quick. Not everybody wants to configure these crazy indicators and have to deal with them. Definitely I don't. Sometimes I just identify a trend and I'm like, man, look, I know it's going to go on for at least another couple hours, but I don't want to be in front of my PC. I want to go on a date with my girlfriend who, much more than less, needs a date every now and then. As I can imagine most traders know, the Mrs. or Mr. gets very upset. So I'm like, okay, what can we do as a company to ease this? Trading on trend lines. Everybody knows how to do it if you're a trader, so why not make it a bot? We opened it up, put a price chart up, put our buy and sell lines, press play, and your bot will trade on them. And unlike other software, which we were the first to make it, not the first to release, sad but true, we support multiple sets, even within the same time frame. If that should get your head going if you're a trader. And so much more. There's a lot more I wish I could talk about, but I'm at 3 minutes and I want a chance for questions. So if you need to contact me, HaasOnline.com, Raynaldo@Haas.com, and our Telegram, HaasOnline Official. So that's the talk. So questions, real quick. You got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. I came from trading, using bots. I used to use trade ideas earlier. When it comes to the indicators, especially when I compare stocks to the cryptocurrency, I consider stocks as more matured market, whereas cryptocurrency is not matured in terms of, it's controlled by a handful of individuals, right? So I personally believe some of you may disagree that indicators won't work in crypto. That's my opinion.
Okay.
The second point is that I only look at the volume. So in your bots, do you use volume as a key indicator?
Okay, let's hit both real quick. So first, we do believe that technical analysis does work more in the short term, but you have to account for fundamentals. And by that, I mean you have to have the mechanisms in place for somebody saying, I don't like that coin. That's unfortunate truth of crypto. It is extremely fundamental driven. The next question, we do support 1-minute candles. Come talk to me outside and we can discuss how it works.
Okay, so what is your pricing structure? Do you release an API for others to configure?
Absolutely. So we do have an API that will allow third-party applications to go ahead. You have people behind you, so I'm going to ask you to move fast, and let's get the next one. Pull me offside. We'll talk some more.
First of all, I used your system last 6 months. I think it's one of the best systems in the market.
I appreciate it.
And I have a quick question. Can I implement my own indicators?
Absolutely. So we do have a C# and Haas script version, which is Lua, to implement your own indicator safeties insurances. Or you can contact us, and we do custom scripting services if you don't want to spend the time.
That's good. Second question. As far as the backbone run, I want to test my all indicators, how much I've like. One indicator makes 15% a week or 10% a week. So how far you can go back to test the system?
So for our custom built-in strategies, it's a month for our normal trade bots.
Can I do this one extended up to 6 months? I just
we're getting there. So custom bots are limited to about a month. We're going to extend that hopefully to 2. Trade bots, where we have it at 3 months, we're looking to extend it at 6. Currently, our only limitation is how do we get you the data fast enough from our marketing servers?
Yeah. And the third question, this only works in the crypto beyond sale Bittrex.
Correct.
Can you implement your system to regular exchanges such as TradeStation, Ameritrade?
Okay, so the issue with that is mostly the brokerage and finding an API that can handle the type of movement. Any more questions, we'll address it offside. Next. Last one, 30 seconds, let's go.
So is there any way for somebody like me that understands indicators a little bit but doesn't want to plug it into a bot and lose a bunch of money right away? Is there any way for me to play with like a sandbox version of your bot until I get to the point where I want to plug it in and let it go live?
All right, awesome. 17 seconds. Let's see if I can do this. So Haas supports back testing, which is basically to test your setups and strategies for the past 1 month, 3 month. We also support a paper trading mode, which is a simulated mode against real-time market data coming in. And finally, we have demos online, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Bam! Talk about precision. Nicely done. Right on the second. Well done. That is impressive. I haven't seen anyone do that today. All right, literally, he nailed the clock. So